Easter eggs and films go together like myself and baby oil. You really can't think of one without the other. And with the ever-encroaching reach of the internet, it's become easier than ever to find these little gems in your favourite movies. We all know about the Xenomorph skull in Predator 2 or the Pizza Planet truck showing up in many a Pixar film, so today we're going to try and showcase some Easter eggs which are, like partners for my sexual fantasies, a lot harder to find. With this in mind, I'm Jules the Southwest Savage for WhatCulture.com, here with a list of 10 obscure movie Easter eggs you probably missed. Number 10. Rhodey's Iron Man ringtone. Iron Man. Back in the swinging 60s, Marvel launched its very first TV show in the form of The Marvel Superheroes. As was mandate for superhero TV shows, the theme tune was a grade A bona fide jam, and was so good that it made a cameo in the 2008 Iron Man movie. After destroying a terrorist group's weapons, the old LED face that is Robert Downey Jr. gets the attention of the US military, and tries to get good pal and apparent face changer James Rose to calm things down by giving him a quick ding-a-ling. And what's his ringtone? Well, wouldn't you know, it's a beepy boopy version of the 60s TV show theme. Number 9. Peabody and Sherman. Back to the Future. Back to the Future has so much fun with its time travel that there's literally tons of little in-jokes. For example, they knock over a tree which turns Twin Pines Mall into Lone Pine Mall, Marty accidentally gives Goldie Wilson the idea to become mayor, it just goes on and on. But there's also an awesome little nod to one of the director's favourite cartoons. The farmer who owns the 1 or 2 Pines land is named Peabody. Now that just sounds like a good name for an old curmudgeonly farmer, but the family's son who mistakes Marty and the DeLorean for an alien invasion is revealed to be called Sherman in the credits, which means this is a lovely reference for avid-eyed fans and ties two of the best series about air quotes f***ing with time together forever. Number 8. Alien Displays. Blade Runner. Ridley Scott might be in what some deem to term the promises that never deliver stage of his career, but one cannot deny that Alien and Blade Runner, the second and third films he ever directed, are anything but genre-defining movies. It's a link that Scott obviously wanted to mention, as if you look at the console displays for the docking of a spinner and the undocking sequence for the Nostromo, you'll see that they use the same interface. Now, some might argue that this may have been a money-saving measure, but Scott has gone out of his way to pack in tons of references to other films in his own film, so this could well be one of the first. Number 7. George Harrison, Life of Brian. Life of Brian, Monty Python's controversy-laden second film, is full of hilarious moments that come so fast and hit so heavily that they put modern comedies to shame. Just before he's captured by the Romans, Brian is introduced to Mr. Papadopoulos, who, and this should be kind of obvious given his incredibly Scouse accent, is played by none other than George Harrison, aka the former Beatle. Harrison's cameo is not just a nod to British pop culture, but actually a huge thank you from the Monty Python crew, as Harrison financed the film and even mortgaged his own house in the process. So without this man, we would not only be shy of some of the best music this side of Vanilla Ice and Rebecca Black, but we'd also be left without the Bible-baiting laugh riot of a film. So thank you, that man. Number 6. The Shining is everywhere. Toy Story 1 and 3. The Shining is one of my favourite films. I think it's the desire to kill small, bowl-headed kids that really speaks to me. And many of you might notice that the carpet in Sid's house in the original Toy Story looks remarkably like that of the Overlook hotels. It's a nice, if odd, nod to the classic psychological horror, but it's not the only one. In Toy Story 3, the number 237, which is linked to the Overlook's most sexy, creepy room, is everywhere. The garbage truck at the start has a license plate which reads RM237, Trixie's dinosaur chat friend uses online tag Velocestar237, and one of Sunnyside's security cameras is labelled Overlook R237. So, what's the link between these films? Is the Barbie house elevator going to spew a load of Ribena-coloured blood? Is Woody going to be revealed as a man whose spirit is trapped inside a doll? Is Buzz going to morph into a giant manta ray at the end of the series and fly into space? Because that's the ending of the Stephen King book. Well, it turns out that it's none of those. It was just because it was the editor's favourite film. Okay. Number 5. The Origins of Captain America, The Incredible Hulk. Have you ever sat down and just wondered why Bruce Banner was doing his experiments in the first place? Like, he clearly wasn't just trying to make a new grass fertilizer that went wrong. In the comics and across his many movies, it does vary, but in The Incredible Hulk, we're told he's trying to replicate a bioforce enhancement research project developed during World War II. Now, at this point, the first Avenger was still 3 years away, so few in the audience picked up on it. But this means the Hulk is a failed attempt to mimic Captain America. It doesn't just end there, though. The mid-credit sequence featuring Tony Stark has him state that the Super Soldier project was put on ice for a reason. Ice? Well, now, Marvel, you deserve a little clap, as not only is that a lovely little nod, but also a terrible joke, and I'm all about the terrible jokes. Number 4. Butch and John McClane have the same taste in music. Die Hard with a Vengeance and Pulp Fiction. In Die Hard with a Vengeance, when explaining to Samuel L. Jackson's character Zeus why he's a little out of shape, Bruce Willis as John McClane explains that he's been spending his days smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. Now, you'll be forgiven for not knowing this, but it's actually a line from Flowers on the Wall by the Statler Brothers. However, this isn't just a little in-joke for country music fans, because a year earlier, Bruce Willis had starred in Tarantino's seminal sophomore feature film, Pulp Fiction. Renowned for his musical choices, Tarantino also featured Flowers on the Wall, using it to great ironic effect as the line "It's good to see you" is delivered just as Butch spots crime lord Marcellus Wallace. But the link isn't just that, as listening to the song while driving away from Vincent Vega's murder scene, Butch is singing along, particularly relishing the same line that McClane quoted in Die Hard 3. With Jackson and Willis appearing in both films, this is a brilliantly subtle link between the two. Number 3. Bob Kane's drawing. Batman. When you're talking about comic creators having appearances in movies based on their characters, the obvious name involved is Stan Lee. Appearing in over 20 Marvel movies, his cameos have become so prominent that even comic book greenhorns can spot them, although it doesn't stop them from pointing it out in the cinema as if it's an in-joke. Yes, I know, yes, I see him, he's an old man, yes, I get it. By comparison, DC hasn't really got as much to offer, although Bob Kane's cameo in Tim Burton's Batman is pretty brilliant. It's not him in person, but a drawing mocking the Man-Bat ideas thrown around by Knox the reporter. It's a solid nod, and I just wish there were more things like this. Number 2. Everything's an in-joke. King Kong. Before The Hobbit, King Kong was the biggest example of Peter Jackson's ability to stretch his movies beyond what their source material would allow. I mean, you could almost watch the 1933 original twice in the same time it takes to slog through his 2005 remake. And seeing as you could fit the original into this entirely, it's probably why Jackson's feature film contains so many references to it. It'd take too long to list them all, so let's just give you a taste of how rewarding this film is for serious Kong fans. Or as I like to call them, the Throng of Kong. The movie that Denham's filming on the way to Skull Island uses the exact same dialogue as Merian C. Cooper's film. The Faye, who's a size 4, is actress Faye Ray, and the RKO production she's tied up in is the original King Kong feature. Even the T-Rex has the anatomically incorrect 3 fingers on each hand because the original made that error. I tell you, this is less a love letter and more a love novel, complete with a narrated version voiced by myself and backing music by Barry White. Now that's sexy. And number 1, James Bond's white suit, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Did you know that Indiana Jones' father was James Bond? Not in the sense that Sean Connery played his literal dad, but in the fact that the series is directly inspired by the 007 franchise. And what better wink to this fact than this scene in the second movie? The white suit Indy wears at the start of Temple of Doom is an exact copy of the one Bond wears in Goldfinger's pre-credits sequence. And as Connery himself would say, that's outstanding. The whole scene is just Bond-esque, even down to the red carnation on the lapel, and this image of Indy in this iconic suit is one that brings a huge stupid grin to my huge stupid face. And that's our list. Got any more obscure eggs worth digging up? Well, let me know about them in the comments section below. And if you want to arduously sift through a million films with me looking for more for another list, you can do so on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. As always, I've been Jules for WhatCulture.com, and I'll speak to you soon.